All right, cool. Flatline MMA episode number 13. The Flatline boys are back, baby. I'm Dom. That's Kev. Let's have a great episode here. As you guys know, Flatline MMA brought to you by CBD Medic. I don't need to go through the same spiel. Buy it. Use the link below for 10% off. Use the code Flatline10. Christmas is next week. Go get it for your loved ones. Gronk uses it. You use it. Go buy it for Christmas. You know, spread the cheer of CBD Medic to everyone, family, friends, brother, sister, mother, father, whoever. Go buy CBD. Click the link below here. Today's episode, we're just going to give a recap to a very eventful UFC 245, which we all know had 3 title fights. Honestly, the whole card I thought was fantastic. The main event being more exciting than I think anyone would have thought. So we definitely want to recap that. And then we just want to give a quick preview, just our predictions on the main event this weekend at UFCBusan, featuring Frankie Edgar stepping in on short notice, taking on the always dangerous, I think one of the most underappreciated, biggest savages in the UFC, Korean Zombie. So we're just going to give our take on that. So let's do it. Let's just hop right in here. Kev, UFC 245, great card. Overall, I think from bottom to top here, I think it exceeded expectations, especially the main event. But let's just get right into the headliner to the prelims, which we had Jeff Neal taking on Mike Perry. Those two, I mean, that was supposed to be fight of the night worthy, right? I figured someone was going to get knocked out in it. You know, I think me and you both, I forget who we picked. I think we both picked Perry. Did we both pick Perry in that one?
No, I think I had Neal with that one.
Jeff Neal, I might have had Perry, but Jeff Neal with just a devastating knockout over Mike Perry. Sad to see, but Jeff Neal is an absolute beast. I don't know. What did you think? Just quick thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I knew Neal's Muay Thai was going to be the difference in that fight. You know, his fight before that, he looked so sharp. Everything he was hitting was so clean, so quick, and really powerful. So I knew he was going to come in, you know, better than he did the previous fight. And Perry's always tough, so I wasn't expecting the knockout to come that soon. I wasn't even expecting Perry to get knocked out, but I did think technically Jeff is a better striker, and I thought it was gonna be a war, but I don't know. I was not expecting a knockout.
Yeah, tough to see for Mike, who's just such like a likable fighter, and he always goes out there and puts on a show. So, but good for Jeff Neal. That kind of just skyrockets him up a little bit. Obviously, beating a tough guy like Mike Perry. Jeff Neal's on a little bit of a streak here. So, for Mike Perry, curious to see what they're going to do with him. Obviously, he's on a little bit of a skid, but I don't think that's someone that gets cut from the USC because he's just so exciting, and you can put him in front of anyone, and he's going to bang. And for Jeff Neal, hopefully he gets a big fight in the future. So excited to see 2020 for him, see him make a run at the title. So that'd be huge. And then just going right into the main card here, we had Peter Yan taking on Uriah Faber. Honestly, great fight up until that point, right? Up until the devastating head kick knockout by Peter Yan, he's a savage, man. I give Uriah a lot of respect that he was willing to kind of just stay in there with Yan and kind of prove that he still got it, man. I think although he did get knocked out in the third, I don't think Uriah is done, man. I think, you know, he obviously went up against a frigging killer in Yan. So it's like, overall, I thought it was a great fight. I think I expected kind of Yan to, you know, finish an older 40-year-old Uriah Faber. You know what I mean? I don't think it's too shocking to anyone, but I think people are more shocked how tough Uriah is. But what do you think about that one real quick?
Yeah, no, that was another good one. And Yan just really showed that he's, you know, one of the toughest in the division, and especially getting a finish over somebody like Uriah Faber, who I don't think take a look at his record, but I don't think he gets finished in all the fights that he's lost.
No.
Usually decisions. So it's an impressive win for Yan. It looks like they're trying to set up him versus Cejudo. Is that what the next fight might be?
Well, so that brings us to really the next fight here, because I think now there's a little controversy with that. So in the next fight, we had the two Brazilians, Marlon Moraes taking on Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo making his bantamweight debut. Everyone was concerned about the weight cut. He made weight. He actually killed it. Actually didn't look too bad on the scales, to be completely honest. He took on the guy who just fought Henry Cejudo for the title, Marlon Moraes, friggin' knocking out everyone, finishing everyone. Obviously, he had a little speed bump taking on Cejudo, but overall, great fight. I thought, it came down. Moraes got the decision in this. He got the split decision in the end. No one agrees with it. I think Aldo won that fight clearly. If you take a look at it, I think Aldo controlled the pace. I think first round might have been Marlon because he kind of came out. He came out pretty quick, used his hands, used his kicks, and I think he stunned Aldo a little bit. But then the rest of the fight, man, it was all Aldo. It was nothing crazy. Aldo didn't massacre Moraes in any way, but I think it was just a clear decision on Jose's part. And just to kind of go off your point, Henry Cejudo called out Jose because he believed Jose won that fight. So I think Jan's getting pissed because he just won that. Clearly he's, the number one contender now, right?
Yeah.
He's beaten everyone. He just beat Uriah Faber. So Cejudo called him out. So now that's kind of confusing. Did you see the video of Peter Yan and Cody Garbrandt going at it in the back?
Yeah.
Dude, he called him Cody No Chin.
Yeah.
So for Yan, I don't know what he does next. I don't think they give him, obviously Cody Garbrandt's got a fight set up, but I don't think that's the fight they make next. But I wouldn't mind seeing Cejudo and Jose Aldo go at it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree because, Aldo was a champ for such a long time that, he's still a high caliber fighter, and him versus Cejudo would be an exciting fight. But yeah, I don't know what would be next for Yan. Who did Cody just lose to?
Cody just lost to Pedro Munoz.
Wonder if he's got a fight set up. Maybe put them two together.
Yeah, it's just I feel like with Yan, I feel like everything was set up for him to, take on the belt next. I don't know though. He's kind of been on a tear, right? So I feel like it's kind of disrespectful for him. But at the same time, I do look at him, and you did just take out a 40-year-old Uriah Faber coming out of retirement. You know what I mean? So I don't know, but who knows? Obviously, Aldo, like you said, he's been friggin' champ forever, right? The guy deserves respect. He deserves his crack at being a two-weight world champion, 100%.
Yeah.
And, if anyone's going to take out Cejudo, obviously it's friggin', a big, strong guy like friggin' Jose Aldo with devastating leg kicks, which I thought he was going to utilize a little bit more in that fight. But, Aldo's, he's getting a little bit older. He's still, he's still in his lower 30s, but like he's been in, he's got a lot of injuries under his belt. The weight cutting hasn't helped him at all. And that's the other thing. Can Aldo sustain cutting down to 135 consistently now, right? Fighting 1, 2, 3 times a year. So we'll see how that affects him. Yeah. And then Moraes too. It's like Moraes just fought for the title, right? He just got a controversial win over, Jose Aldo. Good for him. Everyone that's kind of reporting on this and, analyzing these fights really didn't see Moraes win that. So I don't know. For him, he's just got to get back to the drawing board. He's obviously not going to get a title shot again. He just lost. So we'll see. But I would love to see Aldo Cejudo get set up. I think that'd be a great fight. So friggin' King of Cringe. I don't know if you saw that video. It was like the cringiest video I've ever seen in my life. Like him in the pool. It was just bad. Yeah. But whatever. He's the double champ. I guess he does whatever he wants. Yeah. Perfect. So then just moving on, we got our 3 straight title fights. Open it up with the women's GOAT, Amanda Nunes, taking on Germaine de Randamie with a women's bantamweight title bout. I think it was the fight a lot of people expected outcome-wise, 5-round decision. De Randamie, very tough, very tough. On the feet, she's dangerous, right?
Yeah.
So I think the first round, we really saw Germaine kind of take it to Amanda, right? Had her in weird positions on the feet. And then Amanda just showing why she's the best, right? It looked like she gassed a little bit in that first, but her being again, the greatest of all time, the greatest women's fighter of all time, grinding friggin' Germaine Demay out for 4 rounds, just using her wrestling, using her grappling, and showing everyone why she's the best. Hey, it went 25 minutes. I saw people criticizing Amanda, being like, should have knocked her out. I'm like, that's a champion's win right there. She did gas out in the first. Even she said it. But she used her energy efficiently in the second, third, fourth, and fifth, grinded out a nice win, another name added to her hit list. So what do you think about that one, buddy?
Yeah, you really got to see Nunez put all of her skills together in that fight. And you got to give FlatlinedMMA a lot of credit to the last 20, I mean, not only to last, but to fight with Nunez a whole 25 minutes. It's a tough thing to do just because Nunez, she finishes fights. She finishes more than not. So, but yeah, Nunez, she just put it together really well. Looking at the stats right here, she had, what was it, 8 takedowns.
Yeah.
8, and she finished 8 out of 11 takedowns.
Insane.
It's crazy. And she had a few submission attempts too. So she's showing off her jiu-jitsu, showing off her wrestling, and to beat FlatlinedMMA in the striking department too is an incredible feat.
Yeah, and like you said, she was able to kind of show off all her skills, right? We really haven't seen Nunez on the ground since she won the belt when she beat Miesha Tate. You know what I mean? That's the last time we really seen her kind of on the ground doing groundwork, using her grappling, right? It's mostly she's just been knocking everyone out in the first round. It's been a sight to see. So I give Germaine all the credit, man. You went 25 minutes with an absolute legend. The outcome didn't go your way, but I think her stock still, she's still up there for one of the baddest women on the planet too, man. But good for Nunez. At this point, dude, it's like, who the hell's next? I mean, the Valentina fight's there, but I feel like you got to just let Valentina defend her belt more. Like, you can't keep being like, all right, let's put her up against Amanda, and then Valentina loses, and then she just goes back and head kicks another girl to death, right? It's like, I feel like they got to build up Valentina like a lot more. Like, she's got to defend her belt. I want her to be one of those champions that defends it 2, 3, 4, 5 times, right? I want her in the GOAT conversations. Then I feel like, maybe the end of the year, maybe early 2021, then you do super fight Amanda and Valentina. You put the belts up for the line. I think that's how you got to do it. I think Amanda, to be completely honest, I think give her some time off, do whatever. I don't know. I heard she might friggin' box Clarissa Shields, do a bunch of things. She's got so many options, but I mean, at this point, who's left for her, dude?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough thing for the UFC to come up with an opponent that's not Valentina, that's going to get people to watch and will be competitive.
Yeah, it's for her. I mean, she's just making a statement every single fight. People that even question if she's the GOAT is crazy. And they did an interview with her saying, like, do you think you're just the GOAT of like the women's fighting? And I thought about that question a lot. And she was like, no, I proved that male, female, like I'm up there, like I'm one of the GOATs. I completely agree, because if you look at John Jones, right, a ton of controversy behind him, right, but the level of fighters that he's beaten is incredible. And when you look at Amanda, the level of fighters that she's beaten is incredible. Not just beating them, but beating them in the first round. Legends in a row.
Yeah,
and it's like,
two of them, she was a huge underdog too. The Rousey fight, she was an underdog in. She took her out, and then Cyborg. There wasn't many people that thought Nunez was going to beat Cyborg, especially the way that she did. So, just those two alone, and then she's had those wars with Valentina, beating Holly Holm, Miesha Tate. They're all huge names.
It's insane. You got that's where GOATs are made of, and when it's all said and done, her name will be literally up there, double champ. I don't know if we see someone like her again, which is crazy. So whatever she does next, I'll be watching. It's going to be exciting. She always comes to fight. So good for Nunez here. And then coming to the co-main event, we had the UFC is one of the most popular guys, one of the most likable guys in the entire UFC. We got Max Blessed Holloway taking on Alexander Volkanovski for the featherweight strap. Max, we all know, great champion, such a likable guy, such an absolute savage. He's literally cleared out an entire division. He's beaten undefeated guys coming up trying to take his head off. He's so good on the ground, on his feet, just everywhere. He's such a great mixed martial artist. Volkanovski coming in on an absolute tear, right? The guy has one loss in his career. He just beat, Chad Mendes. He just beat Jose Aldo in Rio to get this shot against Max. Hell of a fight. Definitely not the fight that I expected. A lot of cards. We had 5-0 Volkanovski. We had 4-1 Volkanovski. Such a great fight, though, man. He fought a great fight. He utilized his leg kicks. He was butchering Max's legs. And I don't think Max had an answer for his power. I mean, the guy used to be 240 pounds playing rugby. And I think he used that. And he was kind of bullying Max around a little bit. I know at the end, Max was kind of like, I thought I did enough to win the fight, which I thought was crazy just because I thought Volkanovski controlled that fight from beginning bell to end bell. So what'd you think about that one? I know it's kind of shocking still. I still can't believe Max lost his belt, to be honest.
Yeah. It was, what's his name? Volkanovski just implemented, those leg kicks. He really chewed him up with those. And that's what I noticed throughout the entire fight was that he was getting more significant strikes every round. Mm-hmm. And the majority of them, it seemed like, were those leg kicks. And another thing, too, is we didn't really see Holloway open up the way he normally does. Like, he'll go through a period where he'll feel his opponent out, and then once he gets a little bit of confidence or sees an open, and then you really see him start to flow like he did with Ortega. Mm-hmm. He had him figured out, and he was hitting him with everything. And it just seemed like he couldn't figure that same thing out with Volkanovski. He was still trying to figure it out throughout the fight, so you didn't really see him, have a huge output.
Yeah, again, perfect game plan from Volkanovski. His corner, everyone, they were so confident coming in. If you watched any of the embeddeds, right, he knew. He said and knew. I know a lot of people say that, obviously, when you're the underdog coming in, taking on one of the greatest featherweight champions the world has ever seen, to be completely honest. Everyone's going to say and knew. But, this guy believed it, man. This guy is a friggin' house, friggin' 5'6", absolute brick shit house. And new, right? And new featherweight champion. I know Dana came out right away and said it. He said rematch in Australia 100%, which, dude, I 100% agree with that. Max is one of the featherweight goats. He probably is the featherweight goat, right? So I would love to see the rematch. Dude, and how about Max just going on the Joe Rogan show 2 days after losing his belt, being like, it is what it is. I'll come back. I'll go to his territory. I'll win it back. And that's why he's literally the most likable guy on the roster. And that's why he won the belt in the first place, because his mind is bulletproof. He even said, he goes, hey, it wasn't my night. But the way he was analyzing the fight, he was like, listen, other than my leg, it was just like, Volkanovski wasn't doing any damage to me, man. It was like, he never hurt me. I got outpointed. This isn't a street fight. I lost my belt. It is what it is. That's why I friggin' love him. So that rematch is going to be huge. I heard Dana wants to put Izzy, Israel Adesanya versus whoever with the Volkanovski versus Holloway in Australia, which would be a monstrous event. We'll do 2 title fights there. But yeah, for Max, guy's a champion. He's literally beat everyone in the division. He beat Jose Aldo twice. He's going to come back for this one. I think the rematch is going to be interesting, man. The way I see Volkanovski fight, and the way he was in the pocket and just using his power and bullying Max was something I've never seen before. We saw the Dustin fight at 155 with Max, right? You could tell that Max's power just wasn't there at 155. That Dustin, the power difference in those two, and that's kind of how I felt in this fight a little bit. It was like you could tell Volkanovski is a bigger dude, right? Max got that reach, but he wasn't able to use it against a little guy, which I was so surprised about. But it was just crazy to see Max, lose a fight. I wouldn't say it was 5-0. I'd say it was 4-1. But even that, like, when was the last time we saw Max, get handled like that? Even the Poirier fight, I think it was closer than that fight, to be completely honest.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing with Max, too, is, like, even though he beat Aldo in the first fight, in their rematch, he looked better than he did in the first.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to come back. He's going to make the adjustments that he needs to. And it's going to be a more entertaining fight, I think, in the rematch.
Yeah, and I guess a question for you, right? For Max, he's a guy who fights so often, right? The weight cut kills him a lot. He looks like shit when he steps on the scales. Do you think it would be better for him to maybe take some time off and then like have another contender step up, like a Zabit or a Yair or someone like that to fight Volkanovski first? Let Max relax a little bit. He fights a lot, dude. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think an immediate rematch is like the best thing for him?
Yeah, it's a tough thing because the way the UFC is, they'll promote, the most popular fighter. You don't necessarily have to be the most skilled or the most deserving. If, say Zabit comes out in his next fight, gets a crazy knockout finish, and calls out Volkanovski, maybe not Zabit, maybe someone that more, a little bit more of like a loudmouth or whatever, just to create some type of excitement around a potential fight between whatever, some person coming up and Volkanovski. UFC is going to look at the financial aspect of it, and more people want to tune in to see that fight than the Holloway rematch.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably gonna do that first option. So, Max, he does deserve to take some time off, but I don't think he took a whole lot of damage. Now, I don't think he's gonna have to spend too much time recovering or rehabbing. But you do run that risk if you take a long time out.
Yeah.
So I think he'll come back. I know he likes to fight, and I think I won't call it a wake up call, but it'll be it's more motivation for him to come back. Now they lost his belt. Now he's a contender again, and I think he's going to want to come back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just look at him, someone who in the past has struggled with the weight cut. He had that fight against Khabib lined up. He couldn't make the weight, right? The doctors kind of pulled him out of there. I just feel like with someone, he does take, a lot of shots in his fights, I do feel like. But I actually, I didn't really realize it. I feel like he didn't take too much damage in that last fight. And even said on the Rogan podcast, right? Maybe just have his leg heal up and then get back on it. But I agree with the UFC now. They're trying to create buzz. They're looking for the next Conor McGregor, who's gonna, have 3 million pay-per-view buys. That's a good point. I didn't realize that if he does sit out, that could potentially happen. So good point there. But regardless, their rematch is going to be huge. Again, we just said it. Max is one of the featherweight goats. Volkanovski, the guy's a powerhouse, man. I don't see too many people giving him trouble either, man. So if there is someone that's going to give him trouble, Max is that guy. So I'd love to see the rematch, love to see what's going to happen there, especially in a place like Australia. So that'll be huge. And then finally, moving on to the main event. And listen, I apologize to our viewers. I said this fight was going to be boring. I said it was going to be pillow hands. Wow, we were so wrong about this, man. We had two wrestlers, two of probably the best wrestlers. I'd say, behind a Khabib, we got two of the best wrestlers in the UFC, I think, with the reigning champion at welterweight, Kamaru Usman, taking on the loud, the controversial Kobe Chaos Covington. Right? Two wrestlers, two of the best wrestlers in the UFC. Kevin, how many takedown attempts do we have?
Goose egg.
Zero. These guys traded from the beginning bell to the ending bell. Kamaru Usman getting a 5th-round knockout, TKO, in an absolute thriller, man. This was back and forth. The scorecards had it going into the 5th, 3-1 Usman, 3-1 Colby, and 2-2, right?
Yeah.
Usman found another gear in the 5th round, literally was losing the 5th round, and then turned it up. he was able to, knock Colby down. You could tell Colby was rattled. Earlier in the fight, Colby was mic'd up. He said his jaw's broken after the third round, which later was confirmed. He had a minimal fracture in his jaw, which is still insane to think that. Usman knocked him down. You could tell Colby was friggin' out of it. Got up. Usman was able to put him away with less than a minute left. I know a lot of people might have said it was an early stoppage or whatever. Mark Goddard already came out and was like, if this kid really had a broken jaw, why was I going to risk having any more damage, any permanent damage, anything like that to his jaw? Personally, I know me and you disagree on this. I thought it was a fine stoppage. Maybe that's because I don't like Colby. Maybe because that's it. But I don't know. What did you think of, let's just go fight in general, and then what did you think of the stoppage?
Yeah, the fight was razor thin.
Yep.
I mean, just even just looking at the stats round to round, the only one where there's a pretty good difference is round 3, and that's the one where Colby thinks he broke his jaw, where Kamaru outstruck him. But yeah, I mean, I really didn't like the stoppage. I mean, he did knock him down twice.
Yeah.
So it's gonna put a ref on alert. He's already been knocked down twice. He's probably can't take too many more shots at that point.
No.
You got to be really, really attentive to that. But when Colby went down the second time, I don't think Kamaru landed any of those punches. It seemed like Colby popped back up, came in on a double leg. It was kind of stretched out with his arms stretched, but he had his head kind of tucked.
Yeah.
And Kamaru was hitting him off the arm. And I think what Colby was thinking was recovery. Just you're not taking any power shots right now. You just got knocked down for the second time. It's gonna give him that time to kind of get his head back and work from there. But that the ref didn't give him a whole lot of time to improve his position. So, and especially with a minute left, I think at that point, you got to let the fight go.
Yeah.
And it's like the Mickey Ward or Toro Gotti fights, where there's so many times that those fights should have been stopped that it's just a judgment call on the ref. You got to look at the two fighters. You got to know who they are, and you got to be able to tell if one of them doesn't want to fight anymore. And you can tell Colby wanted that fight the entire time. Same thing with Kamaru. The only way that either one of them was going to stop fighting was just if one of them got knocked out or choked unconscious. So I think, you got a minute left. He's punching him on the arms. He's not taking a whole lot of damage. It wasn't like Colby was completely limp either. You know what I mean? Sometimes you see that, where they're out of it and they're trying to defend themselves, but they're really not. I mean, he had a strong hold on the legs. Kamaru was sprawled out. Especially such a close fight. If it was a dominant fight for Kamaru, where he was just beating him up from round 1 all the way to round 5, and that happened, then it makes more sense to have the stoppage. But since it's so close, Colby could have won that fight if he made it through that round. They would have went to the scorecards, and you never know what's going to happen with that. I mean, it was so close up to that point. It would have been a 10-8 round for Kamaru. But there's still a chance that he could have won that fight. You don't know, but
yeah. No, you make a good point. I just look at more like a fighter safety thing, right? I get it. Colby probably shouldn't have said that he has a broken jaw, right? Probably shouldn't have said that, just because I think Goddard, he even said, he's like, I heard that. I'm like, you got to be more aware as a referee. This guy's continually taking punches to the jaw. You know what I mean? Kamaru knocked him down twice. You're right. It's a 10-8 round. So regardless of that, the stoppage, Kamaru's probably going to win, just off that. But again, who knows, right?
Yeah.
One ref had it 3-1 Colby. You know what I mean? It was 2-2 going into that fourth round from another judge. So it's crazy to think. But overall, the fight was friggin' great. The striking from these two, man, they were killing each other. They were freaking killing each other. Kamaru, listen, two guys that primarily aren't strikers, which I know everyone's going to be like, oh, Colby had almost 600 strikes in his last fight versus Robbie Lawler, right? Mm-hmm. These guys don't put people away. Look at their records. Look at the people that they fought. These guys go to decision because they take you down, they maul you, they don't let you get back up, right? They're Khabib-esque kind of guys. Mm-hmm. So for this fight to be standing for 5 rounds made it so entertaining. I thought it was one of the fight of the year contenders, man, to be completely honest. Two guys with heavy set skill set with wrestling, striking, and just beating the shit out of each other, talking to each other in between rounds. Super entertaining. After the fight, Colby kind of running out when they were doing the announcements. I thought that was kind of bogus just because of all the talk that he did in the lead up to the fight. I know Colby kind of exposed himself by saying that this is a character that he had to create to stay in the UFC. I thought that was a little weird. I think that when you build a persona, I think you need to just stick with that till the end. I think him exposing himself was kind of weird. But, Kamaru getting on the mic, I respect Kamaru even more because he got on the mic and he was like, dude, Colby's tough. He can take a friggin' punch. And then, at the end, he was kind of like, I did this for the whole world. I did this for Brazil, for everything he said, all that stuff. I guess, really, what's next? I mean, I know Dana's like, I want Jorge to fight Kamaru. I feel like Jorge doesn't want anything to do with that. I feel like Jorge wants the big fights. He wants Conor. He wants, another Nate Diaz rematch. I think he wants fights to make him money. I don't think Kamaru Usman welterweight title fight is what he has his sights set on. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't think so either. And there's a lot of talk about Leon Edwards.
Yeah.
That being the fight. If Masvidal doesn't want the fight, they can't make him,
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense because Leon Edwards, he's been tweeting out a lot and putting a lot of things on social media about him being a champ in 2020. So, and Kamaru says that he agrees that he's deserving of a title shot. So,
yeah, I know.
That'll probably be the next one.
Yeah, and all the the pre-fight stuff, they did this press conference with the champions, and they asked, who's been your toughest fight yet? And Kamaru did say Leon, because Leon's very similar, man. Leon's his last loss was to Kamaru, but they're very similar. They both wrestle. They're both strong, big dudes. I think that'd be a big fight, right? Listen, Kamaru, he's not going to put asses in the seats. He's not going to make people buy the pay-per-view, but he's so dominant that I think if he just continues winning, continues defending this belt, he will be bigger because of the way he fights. The way he beat Tyron Woodley was so impressive to me. I think that's one of the best championship wins I've ever seen in my life. Dude, I don't see him losing the belt anytime soon, man. I think, he just showed off. Listen, he doesn't have the greatest striking in the world. I don't think he's not a world-class striker, right? He's friggin' good, but he beats people with his wrestling. But he showed there that he's not afraid to stand and strike. Listen, is he going to stand and strike with Jorge Masvidal? Absolutely friggin' not. Is he going to stand and strike if he ever fought Conor McGregor? Absolutely not. Which, this is another thing. He told Conor McGregor, don't come to my division. I'll freaking kill you, with all this stuff, which everyone calls out Conor McGregor, which is hilarious. But I don't know. Do you think a Colby rematch makes sense? Or do you think the UFC is just kind of not done with Colby, but do you think that this is kind of the rivalry's over? There's no need for a second fight.
Yeah, I would love to watch a second fight between the two of them, but with there being, since the fight got stopped, it's a KO finish for Kamaru. I don't know, and I think I think they'd have a tough time to get Kamaru to agree to taking that fight again. because he's going to come back and say, I just knocked him out. I want the next opponent. So, and he puts the chance losing the belt to Colby, which I don't think he wants to do. So.
No, hell no. And then what I think makes sense for Colby is, put your money where your mouth is, fight Tyron Woodley, right? I feel like he talked this big game about how he used to beat the shit out of Woodley. He's a better wrestler than him.
Yeah.
I know Dana said I feel like that fight makes sense, right? And then I guess my question for you is that, like, Colby's whole shtick, now that he lost, like, what does he do now, right? Like, he already came out and said he was like a character. But, like, now that he just lost and the whole MAGA thing and friggin', I don't even want to get into it, but now, like, Trump's impeachment, like, all that stuff, like, where does he go, like, now with his shtick? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. He's going to have to reevaluate.
Yeah.
Because you can't – I mean, I guess he could completely ditch it, but I don't know. I feel like that'd be weird. But I don't know. I mean, he did do what he set out to do. He wanted people's attention. He focused on getting it, ended up being a negative way. But I don't know. It did a lot of things for him, to be honest. It got him the championship fight, got him the main event, got him the belt for a period of time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What he did worked, but I don't know. It wasn't my favorite way of, getting the attention that he was kind of seeking.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you just made a good point. He did what he said he was going to do. His shtick worked. His Damian Maia fight, he made $30,000 when he won that fight. Mm-hmm. Saturday night, he walked away with $500,000 in a main event and a title fight. Mm-hmm. I'd say that's a pretty good 3-fight run right there, going from $30K to $500K. So, well, I'm curious to see what Colby's going to do next. I hope he fights Tyron. I think that would be a big fight, even though he's coming off a loss here, right? And then Kamaru, Leon, he's got Jorge, he's got, a bunch of options there. But to be honest, Kamaru looks dominant to me. I don't see him losing the belt anytime soon. I think he's going to be a pretty good champion. I love how, he's respectful. I think he's got a pretty decent fan base behind him. And like I said, I think he can be a big star if he just starts, continuing to fight the way he is and getting on the mic and doing his thing. So UFC 245, great friggin' card. The main event, exceeded my expectations. So Kamaru, Colby, appreciate. That's how you end off UFC pay-per-view for 2019. For the decade, last pay-per-view of the decade, which is wild. But getting to the last fight card of the decade, last fight card of the year here, we have UFCBusan in South Korea, where we have Frankie Edgar stepping in on short notice, taking on the Korean Zombie. Just want to give our quick predictions on that one, just because that is a change of opponent. Korean Zombie was supposed to take on Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega tore his ACL. Frankie Edgar stepped in. I don't know. Overall, my thoughts here, Korean Zombie, I think, is one of the most underrated fighters on this roster. I think he is such a good fighter. He puts people away. I know he took a little time off to be in the military, which I think affected his career a lot. I mean, he had to take a couple-year layoff to do that, came back, still putting people away. He had the little slip-up in the Yair fight with, getting knocked out with a second left by that backwards elbow, right?
Yeah.
When he was winning the whole fight. Other than that, this dude has been flawless in the UFC. Yeah. I'd love to see him make a run. I love his walkout song. I think it's the most intimidating walkout song in UFC history, right? But at the end of the day, I love Frankie Edgar. So now I'm so torn. So I don't know, Kev, what do you think about this fight? Quick prediction.
Yeah. So Korean Zombie, he's such a skilled striker. He really showed it off in that Yair fight. Even though he ended up losing, he got knocked out. He figured out a way to outstrike him. He was winning those rounds in the striker department. And it was a pretty impressive display. Frankie, I think his wrestling is so good that he's just going to take him down through the ground and pound thing and just kind of wear him out. But, he has been knocked out before by Ortega, by a taller fighter. And, you know, Korean Zombies, he's got deadly striking. So that's always a possibility there. But I think Frankie's just too experienced, too strong, too good with his takedowns. I think he's going to grind them out, ground and pound, and get the victory.
All right. Flatline Kev's prediction, Frankie Edgar. Okay. I'm going to go Korean Zombie. I think it's going to be a knockout. I think it's going to be kind of like you said. I think Frankie's going to take him down a couple times, but I think Korean Zombie is so skilled on the feet, man. I think he's going to get up. He's going to find a way, impose his will, and I think he's going to knock out Frankie, which is going to be unfortunate because I love Frankie too. But and then that will cap off an exciting 2019. I think Dana White said this has been the most successful year ever in the company's history. So appreciate Dana White, appreciate the UFC for putting on such unreal events this year. 2020 is just absolutely stacked too. Super excited about that. For our next and final episode of 2019, we are going to do the Flatline Awards, where we're just going to kind of go through, best fights, comeback fighter, best fighter, best male fighter, female fighter, all that stuff. Really just want to do a big recap of 2019, our favorite fights in general, stuff like that. And then really just end 2019 on a high note. And then come 2020, new content, new everything. But other than that, listen, guys, like I said before, Christmas right around the corner, New Year right around the corner. Go buy some CBD, right? You got some New Year's resolutions you want to do. You got to be in better shape, right? You can't do that if your knees are hurting, if your back's hurting, right? Your joints are hurting. Go buy some CBD. Click the link below, Flatline10. Use the code. Listen, the Flatline boys told you to do it. Gronk told you to do it. Listen, guys, till next time. Flatline MMA. Peace.